What's good, y'all? She got Bendu. So today I want to cover this AOC article and everything. So as a lot of y'all know, AOC got caught with her hand in the the fucking partisan cookie jar, and I'm gonna go ahead and cover an article that I saw. So I came across this actually on Twitter, and this was from a gentleman. His name is Eric London, I believe is where I found it. Yes, this is by Eric London, and he writes for the WSW, the World Socialist website. I believe that's what it's called. The WSWW or WSWS. I'm tripping. World Socialist website. All right, yeah, I'm stupid, but I wanted to go ahead and cover this because I feel like he hit the nail on the head of, the Political Report, which pointed out that not only did AOC, he points out in this article, not only did AOC, just fund Democratic candidates, the corporate Democratic candidates, these motherfuckers are tied to intelligence. So gonna go ahead and get into that right now. Gotta find the article. Give me 1 second, guys. Here it is. All right. And again, I'm under the weather, guys. I'm sorry you're going to hear me sniffling and coughing a lot, but still wanted to get this video out. So, again, this is the World Socialist website. This is by Eric London. He seems to be good. He's really good. A lot of his articles I've read. So, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez funds the CIA Democrats. On Friday, Politico reported that New York Democratic Congresswoman and Democratic Socialist of America member Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez transferred $160,000. That's almost what she gets in a fucking year. $160,000 in campaign funds to which she gets working as a congresswoman, because as we know, she takes speaking fees and she also takes corporate donations as well. So sorry, guys. Campaign funds to a slate that includes CIA Democrats, right-wing congressional Democrats with intelligence and military backgrounds. Politico reported that the contributions were unsolicited and were aimed to keep the House majority ahead of a tough cycle. While Politico only lists Connor Lamb of Pennsylvania, Elisa Slotkin of Michigan, and Carolyn Bordeaux of Georgia by name, it appears based on the report that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez donated $5,000 to each of 32 frontline candidates selected by the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee in high-profile midterm races. In the DCC is somebody she publicly had beef with in the past. It's almost as if this shit is wrestling, and then, once the dust settles and she gets assimilated into the fucking machine, that's when, she goes full corporate hack. But what I also read from this article, that so she donated this money to these people, in accordance with the DCCC. What's funny is a lot of the candidates, some of them outright said we don't want this money because they find her views toxic or whatever. Like, because they think that since they're in swing states, if AOC, if they're seen being supported by AOC, it'll ring bad with their with the voters and everything, where it's like, how about you go tell your voters you're going to give them Medicare for all, which is a 75%, 70% of the country wants Medicare for all. Like, it's fucking ridiculous, man. And we already know that in the past election cycle, every single candidate that supported progressive agendas kept their seats or won their races. So that mindset is ridiculous, but it just goes to show that she'll play ball with these people and they still don't fucking like her. This list of frontline candidates includes many prominent CIA Democrats whom the World Socialist website has identified as having been former representatives of the Pentagon and intelligence agencies, which is probably why AOC defers to party leadership when it comes to our foreign policy. In 2018, the WSWS published a 3-part series by Patrick Martin detailing efforts by the military intelligence agencies to flood the Democratic Party with loyal operatives. See, I might cover that. I might go through that. I still got to do the that Robert F. Kennedy EcoWatch article for you guys about Syria, and I'll probably do this too soon. Beneficiaries of Ocasio-Cortez's financial support include Elisa Slotkin, a former CIA agent, Connor Lamb, Marine captain and military prosecutor, Tom Malinowski of New Jersey, an assistant secretary of state under Barack Obama, Abigail Spanberger, CIA operations officer, I've heard that name before somewhere, and Elaine Luria, Navy commander, both of Virginia. Um, Mikey Sherrill, Navy pilot in the Middle East, and Andy Kim, advisor to the U.S. Command, Afghanistan and Iraq, director for the National Security Council, both of New Jersey, and Jared Golden of Maine, Marine infantryman. I think this is Elisa Slotkin. Slotkin and Lamb have indicated they will return the donations for fear that Republican opponents will associate them with Ocasio-Cortez. That's kind of what I said earlier. Like, we don't want to associate with Medicare for all, a policy point that's, 70% of the country wants. We can't identify with that. Ooh. Ocasio-Cortez's financial support for the CIA Democrats is another lesson in the futility of all efforts to transform the capitalist Democratic Party into a vehicle for progressive social reform. By transferring funds given to her by left-wing supporters into the war chest of the CIA Democrats, Ocasio-Cortez provides an example in financial terms of the fundamental political dynamic of right-wing Democratic Party politics. Far from moving the Democratic Party to the left, figures like Ocasio-Cortez merely trap left-wing social opposition, disarm it, and transform it into political capital for the very establishment they claim to oppose. Again, I want to repeat that paragraph again. By transferring funds given to her by her left-wing supporters, so all of her supporters, her grassroots support, and also her support from Google too, her support from Apple. But he's talking about the grassroots here because, people still aren't going with the narrative that she takes corporate money when she has Google and Apple and all these tech companies all over her fucking donation list and everything. But whatever. Provides an example in financial terms of the fundamental political dynamic of right-wing Democratic Party politics. Far from moving the Democratic Party to the left, figures like Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Ro Khanna, all of them, merely trap left-wing social opposition, disarm it, and transform it into political capital for the very establishment they claim to oppose. AOC is a servant of the establishment. Eric London is saying it here. This is shit me, and other progressives have been saying for a long time, but we get deemed as right-wing sympathizers when we point this out. Whatever. So is Kyle Kalinske right-wing? Is Kyle Kalinske a right-wing sympathizer now that he's subtly shitting on Ilhan Omar? He's not going in on the squad like I and others have been, but I guess pretty soon he's going to be a right-wing sympathizer too. Chris is going to have to end that show with him, once he gets exposed as a right-winger. Bet you Cenk Uygur or Sam Cedar will lead the charge on that one. But her support for the CIA Democrats undermines her claim to represent opposition to war. She is providing direct political support to individuals responsible for the U.S.-led wars that have devastated broad swaths of the Middle East and killed over 1 million people in the last 2 decades alone. Aside from working as a CIA agent, Elisa Slotkin was the Iraq director for the National Security Council under Barack Obama, serving as senior assistant to John Negroponte in his game's funny, in his final government job as director of national intelligence with overall 19 U.S. intelligence agencies. So he's a fucking spook. Ocasio-Cortez's support for a former top aide to Negroponte is significant since Ocasio-Cortez has attempted to present herself as a defender of the rights of immigrants, even blaming imperialism for forcing millions to flee, but not blaming Biden. Negroponte was U.S. ambassador to Honduras from 1981 to 85, overseeing the U.S.-backed death squad Contras in the civil wars in Guatemala. These are the people AOC is donating to. El Salvador and Nicaragua. He is an American war criminal responsible for facilitating genocidal campaigns against Central American workers and peasants. In the 2001 Senate hearings, Connecticut Senator Chris Dodd said, based upon the committee's review of State Department and CIA documents, it was seen that Ambassador Negroponte knew far more about government perpetrated human rights abuses than he chose to share with the committee in 1989 or in embassy contributions at the time to annual State Department human rights reports. In 2018, Negroponte issued an endorsement of his protege's congressional campaign. I have seen Elisa lead under extreme pressure, working on some of the toughest security challenges our nation faces. Yeah, like Venezuela. They're going to invade us soon. We got to be afraid of those dastardly Venezuelans. God damn it, Maduro, we're so afraid of you. I am supporting Elisa in her run for Congress because I believe at this time we need more elected leaders like her. Mission focused, which is destroying destroying countries around the world. Results oriented, which is destroying countries around the world. Who puts the security of our country before politics, which means putting regime change before the needs of the people actually here, which means, hey, I'm going to give billions upon trillions of dollars to the military and intelligence communities, and we're going to give you fucking pennies. Fuck you, fuck off, peasants. That's what that means. There goes this little fucking short, bald fucking, he looks like the fucking uncle from Spy Kids, yo. I forgot what the uncle's name in Spy Kids was. He looks like that motherfucker, though. Ocasio-Cortez also contributed to Connor Lamb, a former military officer and federal prosecutor, in July 2018, as the Trump administration took children out of the hands of their parents to enforce its fascistic zero tolerance policy. Lamb was one of several Democrats who voted for a resolution introduced by far-right Republican Clay Higgins praising immigration and customs enforcement. Now, look. When it comes to immigration, y'all know how I feel about it. Like, I feel like when you have illegal immigrants coming over here, it deters people, or not deters people, but it limits the ability of, American workers to collectively bargain. Because when you have, when an employer can just, bring in, people who are fresh over the border and are willing to take any pay, it limits your ability to collectively bargain. Bernie Sanders used to talk about progressives used to talk about this. This isn't an anti-immigration thing, but we need to work on more so our foreign policy, which is why I say we need to crack down on foreign policy and cut the military budget. I say more than half, but cut it in half to limit their ability to overthrow countries like this. You feel me? And we won't have the immigration problems we have because these countries will be prosperous. It's just insane that people don't see that. And it's like, I feel like that's not anti-immigrant. That's just logical. Like, you have to have a country with borders. I know that sounds like the right wing thing, but that is a fact. Like, it's insane when you look at, you list a lot of these socialist countries that people like to talk about, like the Scandinavian countries, Canada, they have strict immigration policies there. Like, so it's like, I don't hate, immigrants or anything like that. What I'm saying is we need to be working on and we need to look at it logically, perspective of, collectively bargaining and things of that nature. However, when it does come to manufacturing jobs, unless there's like 180-degree twist where we get like fucking, I don't know, Jesus Christ himself come back and run for president or some shit, it's not going to happen. So honestly, the conversation of immigration is kind of hot button topic just to divide more so than that, and people don't talk about it in an honest way. So, but that's just my opinion on the immigration thing. I don't know if I've said it before on the show or not. I wanted to make that clear. Lamb was one of several Democrats who voted for a resolution introduced by far-right Republican Clay Higgins praising immigration and customs enforcement. The resolution praised the brave men and women who enforce our nation's immigration laws, which means like torturing these people, basically throwing them in facilities, doing all types of fucked up shit to them, which I'm not for. Like, just send them back home, deport them. Don't hold them in these fucking facilities and shit like that. Like, that's insane. I'm 100% opposed to the fucking to the ICE facilities though, and oppose calls to defund or abolish the American Gestapo agency. The support provided by Ocasio-Cortez to Abigail Spanberger is particularly significant. In November 2020, it was the ex-CIA officer Spanberger who launched a vicious denunciation of socialism, blaming figures like Ocasio-Cortez for Democratic losses in the congressional elections. That's where I heard it from. In a recorded call among House Democrats at the time, Spanberger said, "We need to not ever use the word socialist or socialism ever again." Yeah, like, again, Medicare for all, 70% issue in the country. Green New Deal, I believe, sits around the 60% issue in the country. Like legalizing marijuana, that's overwhelmingly popular. All of these progressive policies are popular. You're not popular because you're pushing your corporatist, neoliberal, Bill Clinton era bullshit, your Barack Obama economic bullshit, and nobody wants that. And she looks like a total Karen right here. Like, that's the face of Karen. After the Democratic National Convention in 2020, Ocasio-Cortez Senator Bernie Sanders and other left Democrats explained that socialist-minded voters must support the right-wing Biden campaign, promising that after his election, Ocasio-Cortez and others would fight against the right wing of the Democratic Party, which is insane because now she's directly funding them. But I would also say, on top of that, you don't support people who are diametrically opposed to what you believe in. This is the problem I have with Tulsi. This is why I stopped supporting Tulsi, and I'll call her out all the time. Because you can't sit here and preach this anti-war shit and align yourself with Joe fucking Biden. I don't care if you're trying to spite Bernie or whatever. You don't do it that way. So, but now you have AOC directly funding the people she's supposed to be fighting against. Ocasio-Cortez advisor Corbin Trent explained at the time, right now what you're seeing is that we've got a common goal to beat Donald Trump, but come January, we maybe have a different goal. They won the nomination, so they get to pick the game plan. Now, that doesn't mean that they get to pick a game plan in the midterms when we start primarying their asses, and it don't mean that they don't get to pick the game plan when we start recruiting for 2024 and we primary their asses. That's all bullshit. That's the Andy Kim guy. You see how they like to diversity wash politics to make you believe in them? This was also a fraud. Instead of fighting the right wing of the Democratic Party, Ocasio-Cortez is supporting it financially and politically. Chris Hayden, spokesman for the Democratic, for the DCCC, thanked her for the recent contributions. We appreciate Representative Ocasio-Cortez's ongoing commitment to a Democratic majority. In a March 2019 interview with the DSA's magazine Democratic Left, Ocasio-Cortez, and I covered this already, attacked socialist critics of the Biden administration, calling them privileged and bad faith actors. She said socialist opponents of the president are denigrating black and brown undocumented people by dehumanizing immigrants, calling the people who are now protected from deportation no one. In doing so, she shields the CIA, Democrats from political criticism while continuing to present herself as a socialist. Like, the CIA destroys socialist movements and governments around the world. Like, this exercise in bad faith politics typifies the historical role of the Democratic Party, which is to swallow up and then destroy any left-wing political movement that might threaten the capitalist system. A genuine socialist movement will only come in opposition to and independent of the two-party system. Eric London, you are 100% right. So, man, he did a great job on that article, man. I was really feeling that article when I read it, and I wanted to read through it with y'all and everything. But, yeah, so honestly, y'all, for real, this might be my last Ocasio-Cortez video for a while, unless she does something, like, extremely dumb. But I'm tired of talking about Shorty, honestly. We know what it is with her. Like, people that watch my channel know what it is. So, this is going to be my last video about her for a while, and I'm going to be covering everything. So, yeah. So I want to go ahead and close the video out there, guys. Thanks for tuning in. As always, if you're on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Emphasis on the comments, because I'm going to be doing that Fan Friday comment video this Friday. And I'm also going to be doing a live stream, so look out for that. So definitely, stay interactive with the channel, because I'm starting to get more interactive with y'all. Also, if you're on Odyssey, hit that flame emoji, the thumbs up emoji. And if you can, not saying that you have to, but if you can, donate some library coins to help support the show. Every little bit helps out. And yeah. We'll go ahead and close it out there, y'all.